So, what are some of the most common leadership mistakes that you can see across the board, like not just nonprofits, but just in general?
Yeah, it's a good question, Blake, because I think if you're going to talk about leadership, people have to realize that leadership applies to any situation, not just nonprofits, but for profits, small businesses, as you know, being an entrepreneur, and anything in between. So these statements are really kind of very basic. They apply to everyone. But one of the most, well, I actually have a list here of common mistakes that people make, and I've made them myself too. So still learning as I go as well. So I think the biggest one is that leaders are either too passive or too aggressive, and that really either extreme on a spectrum would be, or they're both very destructive behavior. Um, Another one is not defining people's roles and responsibilities, kind of leaving it up to people to figure out how things are supposed to go, which is never good, because they'll have a different expectation than you will. Another one is letting people cross over into other people's lanes. And so once we establish our organization and we've got our responsibilities set, we want people to stay in their lane. So if people cross over, it can become a very toxic situation if they go into another person's lane with the wrong motives. Another one is not holding people accountable or learning how to have these difficult, crucial kind of conversations that resolve conflict. Another one is lack of emotional intelligence. I see it, I've seen it a lot, that people are very smart. They may have a high IQ, but their EQ is in the tank. And there's a lot behind that. I mean, I don't know if it's common. It's just it's a mistake. I mean, it can really cause problems with any organizational structure. And I don't know that we're educating people enough on EQ and how, I mean, there's tons of studies that show that people with a higher emotional intelligence actually do better than people with a high IQ. So, I mean, you can have average intelligence and a high emotional intelligence and be very, very good at your job, very good at life, reading people. You can have a high IQ and have low EQ, and nobody wants to work with you. So you might be brilliant, but you also may be a jerk, or you may be passive aggressive, or you're difficult to get along with. So EQ doesn't get enough. It's a huge mistake people make by not giving it enough attention. Another one would be not investing in their people. Well, I'm all for personal and professional development, and we need to be responsible ourselves to enter into that journey. It is also the organization's responsibility to make sure that they're providing that to some degree or another. Here's one of my favorites that I see. Well, I don't know if it's a favorite because it's a huge mistake, but Cy Wakeman, she wrote Reality-Based Leadership. She calls them drive-by BMWs. And a drive-by BMW is a bitching, moaning, and whining. So allowing that to go on, I mean, there's going to be some drama within any organization, but the extent to which you allow that, some organizations absolutely have no cap. They just let it fly, and that's a huge mistake. Oh, yeah. Sure. Oh, yeah, that's very common, by the way.
You would think that would get shut down most places. Yep. That's crazy.
It's allowed because it's what people know. I mean, Blake, you've heard this, right? But it's just who people are. You know, there's always going to be gossip and toxicity among people. And that is a true statement.
Yeah.
However, you don't have to allow it as the leader. You can minimize it. Yes, it will happen to an extent. People are people. But the extent to which it's allowed and allowed to permeate the organization, it really will impact your culture. And if you want a positive, uplifting culture, you have to minimize those BMWs.
Yeah.
Right. They might look good as a car, but in a person, it's kind of a, not such a great quality. And we've all done it. It's just the extent. Can we catch ourselves? Can we catch our people? Can we offer a better way to resolve, issues going on in the workplace. And the last one is when organizations allow what's called the third option. So this is another Cy Wakeman kind of teaching, right? So in her philosophy, she's a drama researcher. She works a lot in leadership with healthcare organizations. And I love the statement that she gives, that people need to either stay in joy or leave in peace. And there shouldn't be a third option. And that third option is when people stay with no joy and they sabotage their work and they get paid. So often the biggest mistake organizations make is allowing someone who's not happy, toxic, not performing well, to stay and get a check.